Welcome back to the Agents Confidential podcast. Today we're going to be talking about shifting your mindset from being an agent to a CEO and building a real business in the insurance industry. Yana?
So, most agents start out focused on sales, which is completely understandable, chasing leads, writing policies, closing the next deal. But at some point, a bigger question is going to hit you. Am I building a business or am I just staying busy? So, in this episode, we're going to talk about the mindset shift from agent to CEO, what it really means to build something that can grow beyond you, and the systems, habits, and identity changes that unlock true scalability. So, if you are ready to stop playing small and start building like a business owner, this one's for you.
I want to say too, this is not easy. It takes more effort, hours, and investment to really make this shift as you're growing within this industry. So let's talk about first the identity shift. There's a moment when you stop asking, how do I close more business? And you start asking, how do I build something that grows beyond me? That's when you go from agent to CEO. We're going to talk about the two mindsets, the agent mindset, which will be me, and the CEO mindset,
Which will be me.
so you want to be like Yana, not like Eric. Okay, here we go. So here's a mindset from an agent's perspective. How many policies can I write this month?
And then the CEO mindset will ask, what systems will help me grow sustainably?
I would be reacting to things going on.
And CEO mindset is going to be strategic about your next move.
An agent would think, maybe having a personal brand is optional.
And a CEO knows that a personal brand is essential.
I like to work by myself and on my own.
A CEO will build a team or a network to connect with.
And I live and die and value the short-term wins.
And myself as a CEO, I'm going to be focusing on the long-term vision. Ultimately, you can't scale hustle, but you can scale systems. So once you've identified yourself, we're going to talk about how to start building like a business owner.
Let's do it.
We have about 5 steps that we're going to go through. I'm going to go through the first couple, and then Eric's going to take it away. The first one is having a brand is more impactful than having a brochure. So you want to build a reputation for yourself, not just a product list. You want to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? And then build your brand surrounding that question of what you want to be known for. The second one is create a client experience, which if you've been listening to our episodes, you know that's my favorite thing ever. Onboarding processes, service system, renewal touch points. CEOs think about consistency and trust, not just transactions.
And that's going to be really important further on in your business. We were talking earlier in prep and saying, if you are a newer agent, these things don't have to be done today, tomorrow.
Oh, for sure.
But you've got to start planting some seeds so that you're building these systems out. Before you know it, you're going to have 3-4 employees, you're going to have some support staff, maybe a second location, and you really want these things in place the sooner the better, right? So let's look at a couple more here. We've got building and using tools. I know my memory isn't fantastic or perfect, but having a CRM, having calendar links, automations, email templates. Think about the common emails or messages that you're sending. Record those, document those, that they can be reused at the right time. Somebody calls and says, I didn't get my membership card. There should be a standard set of questions and or answers that any staff member would give to something like that without having to think about it. We want to delegate and outsource early. I think you would look at a process or task that you're doing and saying, does this still even need to be done? Or can this be done in a faster way? You don't have to wait for 6 figures to stop doing everything yourself. You need to think, what am I doing that someone else could do for me? The last one that we want to talk about in this section is tracking your metrics that matter. Not just apps submitted, but I want you to look at your retention rate and your per client revenue, leads, time spent with that client, headaches, and overall value. And I want to go through that again. These are all within each client would produce a revenue number, leads, track the time that you spend with them, how many headaches they create you and your staff, and the overall value to your business. When you know those numbers, it's much easier to spend more time with a client that's very valuable to you, not just from a one app standpoint, but all those other metrics, and to spend the time that's required to help that client stay a great client. Also want to be looking at your conversion rates of leads. So what are you paying? How much are you getting? And how many of those are turning into clients? And then we want you to double down on what's working best.
Definitely.
Being that this is an audio only podcast, you're quite often visualizing what we're saying. I want you to visualize a flywheel. For those that don't know, a flywheel takes a lot of effort to get started, but once it gets going, it tends to keep its momentum. And to build your business flywheel, we're going to introduce a simple framework for sustainable growth. Yana, can you take us through these?
Yeah. In this framework, there's 4 different sections, I guess. The first being your marketing engine. So this is what you're doing to make sure that your leads are on autopilot. The next one is your sales process, making it predictable and repeatable, of course. And then this third one, your client journey. This is from referrals to retention, every step along the way. And then the fourth is potentially your most important, your back-end systems, so that you are not the bottleneck and that you have systems that support your sustainable growth. This is what's going to separate the top 5 agency from someone stuck in hustle mode. And you really don't have to wait until you're big enough to lead like a CEO. Every system you build, decision you make, risk you take with intention, that's what's going to make you a business owner and not just an agent.
I like the last line. Remember, you're not just an agent. You're building something real.
Definitely. So to wrap things up, we have a little checklist for you. It is a reality check. Are you an agent or CEO? So here are some questions that you can ask yourself to just evaluate yourself. First one, do I have a consistent automated lead flow? Second, do I know my retention rate, revenue per client, and close rate? Next one, could someone else serve my clients the way that I do because I've built a system? And then, am I building a brand people refer to or just a name on paper? If the answer is not yet, that's great, because that means that there's room for you to grow. The truth is, you don't need to wait for a big team or a 6-figure month to start leading like a CEO. Every process you document, every brand decision you make, and every system you build moves you one step closer to a business that works for you, not just because of you. You're not just an agent, you're a builder, and the business you're building is real. Now go lead it like one.
As you get ready to push in the clutch, shift to the next gear, continuing to grow your business, we want to continue to hear from you, as many of you have been leaving comments and sending us messages, giving us some feedback on this podcast. What are your bottlenecks right now? What are you working on? What are you getting frustrated with? Not only identifying them for yourself to work on them, but we will create more content to help you with bottlenecks in your business. Thank you so much for listening today.